idols, and we cutting down poles. We calling back Israel to the hell we know. Throwing out crystals, we don't need these stones, and we ain't no gods. That's a job for y'all. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High, Yahuwah. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Yah Israel. Tearing down idols, and we cutting down poles. We calling back Israel to the hell we know. We throwing out crystals, and we don't need these stones. We ain't no gods. That's a job for y'all. We cutting down poles. We calling back Israel to the hell we know. We throwing out crystals. We don't need these stones, and we ain't no gods. That's a job for y'all. Everybody help me say all praise.
All praise to the Most High.
I can't hear you say.
All praise to the Most High.
All praise to the Most High. Hey, all praise.
Peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Shalom, shalom, or should I say Shabbat shalom. All right, so hopefully everybody's doing well. Hopefully everyone is enjoying your Feast of Tabernacles. I know, we Israel, we have different dates and stuff like that for our tabernacle celebration. So whenever you do celebrate your Feast of Tabernacles, a big blessing, a big peace and blessings out to you and your family, out to you and your mishpachah, your tribe, your assembly, everything, family. Just hope everything goes well. And family, hopefully you put on a good 5 pounds. But hey, family, hey, thanks for hopping on here, family. I know I am sort of late here, had some technical difficulties, so thanks for hanging in there with me, family. But yeah, just got a lot of catching up to do. So it just seems like it's been a while since I've done one of these lives. So yeah, definitely want to do some a little bit of catch up, and then kind of end on some things, family, that I think that we as a community, we probably should be aware of. It's one of those things where, definitely don't want to worry about anything. We know that, we put our faith in our faith in the Most High. We know that at the end of the day, we know that the Most High has us. We know that at the end of the day, we know that the Most High will protect us. And this is just one of those things where, family, I just want to make sure that you are aware and that you are, as a community, as an assembly, as a family, as a provider for your house and home, that, just want to use a little bit of wisdom in the way that we navigate this current state of affairs that we're in right now. So with all that being said, I don't want to keep you up all night. I know it's already late, but, just want to roll through a couple of, actually more than a couple of videos and just share with you a few things, family. So, but hopefully the audio sounds okay. I haven't seen. And peace and blessings to everyone that's in the chat. Pure repentance heart. The kingdom is at hand. Big shalom, shalom. Shalom to let's see here. Derek, brother Derek Anderson. And forgive me if I mispronounce your names, fam. I'm not the best with names. Calvin Arders, big shalom, shalom. A peace and blessings to Ivan Juan Little. Big peace and blessings, kind of scrolling through my chat here. Siobhan S. East, big peace and blessings. Shabbat shalom. I'm sorry, Shabbat shalom. That is for anyone that's, depending on where you are with the feast day observation. Big Shabbat shalom or shalom to Monica Curry. Shalom to you and your family. Israelite Gamer. Shalom, my brother. Big peace and blessings, and just keep scrolling here. I know I don't have enough time to go through all the posts, but big peace and blessings in Shabbat shalom. So thanks everyone for hopping on here. All right, so let's go ahead and get started, family. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my PowerPoint slide, because remember, definitely want to bring us back to, take us back to a couple of years, because definitely want to bring us back and then kind of just walk us forward to where we are, because a lot of things have happened, and it's easy for us to forget, all this culmination, this crescendo of events that has taken place, over the years. And this is why people were saying, oh man, especially those in the Christian community. I mean, they were like, oh man, well, the rapture is going to happen on September the 23rd. And of course, the September the 23rd came and went. I did some TikTok videos about that, and people were clowning on those folks. I mean, they were cooking them good, family. And so it came and went. I think one of the main antagonists or protagonists behind that, his brother's name was Joshua. So, of course, there were other people that were also purveyors of that falsehood. And they came out and they were saying things like, they apologized. So once the day came and nothing manifested, nobody was taken up. People were doing funny videos. Big shout out to Pastor Kelly that had a couple of funny videos out there. But folks were doing funny videos and nothing happened. So, of course, people that sold their homes and cars and investments and all this other stuff, they were devastated. And of course, they came back afterwards. And a lot of them, you definitely want to give them credit to their character, to the character. And they apologized. They apologized to, the family at large. They apologized to their, if they were over any like sort of assembly or church, using their terms. They apologized as well. And some even decided to take a seat. They're just going to push the pause button, take a break from social media for a while, press the reset button, and, see how things go, see if the Most High leads them after that. So that was one group. But then there was the other group, right? There was the other group, and this, includes the brother Joshua, who said, "Oh, I tell you," he liked to roll his R's, like 1,000% or 1,000,000,000% that is the rapture is going to happen on October the 7th. So that's what he was saying next, 7th through the 8th, I think it was something like that, right? So of course that came and went, nothing happened, and I hear that there's another date out there, believe it or not. So of course, I think most people have caught on to the game, right? Because one of the things I put out there, family, I was like, find anywhere in the Bible. And of course, there are different Bibles. You got King James, you got, I also have a Sefer Bible as well. But, we got all these different Bibles and versions and stuff like that. But I challenge folks to find anywhere in your Bible where there is a prophecy given and that there is an exact date assigned to it. You know what I mean? Like a Gregorian date or a Julian date. And if you don't have the patience to thumb through your Bible and read through every page, maybe you got one of those digital Bibles. I say just do a search, or you can ask AI. Even though AI is starting to get a little funny, we're going to have to come back and talk about that AI stuff, family. I'm telling you, they have really hijacked AI, and that's something that we saw coming, which is why I know I'm kind of getting off topic, but just want to let you know this is why I praise be to the Most High. I have gotten the idea of starting our own AI called blackai.info. That's blackai.info. And I'll pull it up here, at least the website for it here shortly. It's not up, it's not fully functional. It's going to take a little time. It is a pretty big project. And it's one of those things where, hopefully once it's up and running, hopefully you will support it. And we'll talk about support and stuff like that, because a lot of the attacks against our community, family, these are attacks that they could not do against our community in the early 1900s. Why? Well, because we were self-sufficient. You heard of Black Wall Street. You heard of Rosewood and places like that, Wilmington, North Carolina. I know I'm forgetting some, even in Atlanta here. I'm based out of Atlanta. So we had some places here in Atlanta that got burned down and stuff like that. Of course, that was because we were self-sufficient. We had our own movie theaters. We had our own doctors, right? We didn't have to go to any other nation for anything. We were it. We were Wakanda. We had Wakanda here, on earth in the US, right? I'm sure there are some other places around the world that I might not be familiar with, but I'm just speaking to you from the perspective of someone here that's in the US, that we had it going on like early 1900s, family. Even if you look at the congressional caucus pictures from that time, or like the Senate and the House and stuff like that, you saw a flood of Black folks. I mean, it would have gotten something. It would have gotten you. I mean, if you were alive back then, think about it, family. We had just came out of slavery. The shackles had just come off. And, when we came out of slavery, it wasn't according to the scriptures, because, according to the scriptures, whenever someone is released from slavery, from bondage, they're due a couple of things, right? That reparations. They're given a leg up. They're given, some help in order to get their life going, right? And it's funny because reparations is biblical at the end of the day when you think about it. Well, here in the States, in the US, we weren't given that. Of course, we had that 40 acres and a mule that was promised, and they started to roll it out, but then they put the kibosh on that. But we didn't have it. So here we are, shackles were off. Didn't have like some people would say, not a pot to piss in. We didn't have a house, nothing over our head to live in. We didn't have anything. And of course, that put our forefathers back underneath the boot, underneath the yoke, underneath the bondage of the lenders. Because, the lender, I'm gonna say the borrower is underneath the yoke of the lender, right? So that put our forefathers back up underneath the yoke, right, of the lender. So unfortunately, that's when you started seeing things like, these farms started popping up, and we started working for, minimum wage, if there was even such a thing back then. But we were just, doing that sharecropping stuff. And yeah, I mean, it was just that bondage all over again. But thanks be to Yah, that even despite all of that stuff, family, we still rose. You can't keep Israel down for long. I'm telling you, you can't keep Israel down for long. And what do? We started rising up. We started spinning out organizations, the ancient sons of Israel. This is one of the things I've talked about. And actually, I'm gonna start bringing out some of those things here online here as well, in the form of videos, and start talking about things like the ancient sons of Israel, the brothers as well. In trying to think in chapter 5. But in any case, family, just want to start bringing some of that stuff out as well, because I think it is relevant to today, because you'll see shades of that in the society that we're in. So in any case, I know I'm going around the world, but just want to let you know, family, that there's a lot of stuff that's going on. When we came out of slavery, we rose, we started building our cities and our towns up. They were thriving. They were prosperous. We had more millionaires in Black Wall Street than anywhere in the United States. Think about that. There were more millionaires in Black Wall Street than any place in the United States. So that's why they burned it down. Not only did they burn it down, but they made it impossible for us to rebuild it up. Right. And then, of course, they also made the people of Black Wall Street who were self-sufficient. They then made them dependent on the Caucasian population around them for everything, which is pretty much how it still is today, right? All across the country. And there's also things that occurred, especially with the rise of the rise of the KKK in the I want to say after 1915. This is after the movie, the film Birth of a Nation was created. The 1915 Birth of a Nation was created, and that ushered in the rise of the Ku Klux Klan. When that occurred, this is when we started seeing those massacres across the country. Of course, there are the big massacres that we know about, like I was saying before, Black Wall Street, Rosewood over in Wilmington, had one here in Atlanta, Georgia as well. But, in addition to those, there were a bunch of small ones that we haven't heard about, right? Where these mobs were armed militias, murderous mobs would rampage across the country, unalive our people at scale and then just take over their property. So there's all kinds of reparations that's due to our community, which they don't want to do, which is fine, because we know that is scripture. We know that according to the Bible that they're not going to want to give us nothing. The Most High is going to make them go. He's going to roll out these plagues, and who knows when the time comes with that. I'm not into date setting or anything like that. We can only just look at see if we're in the season or not, based off of the scriptures, and just see if it comes to pass. But, some of us believe that we are in the season, and we'll just have to wait and see what manifests in these days to come. Hallelujah. All right. So said all that to say this, family. So fast forward to today. So, we had this, I think you can see it on my screen here. This is when we had those eclipses that went across the U.S., right? And I know the words or the letters are small, but at least I'm going to call out some of these dates to you. So in August 20, I think it's 24th. It's even smaller on my screen. But in August of 2017, this is when we had, the eclipse. It started from roughly around Salem, Oregon, and then it went over to Charleston, South Carolina, which is one of the largest slave ports here in the U.S. So that was a significant event. And then we also had the one, looks like there was one in October 2023. And that also started roughly around the same place. But this time, this one went down across through Texas. And then we also had this one, looks like in 2024. I'm trying to zoom in on my screen here. I believe that's 2024. Looks small on my screen. So, but came from Eagles Pass in Texas, went all the way up to crossed over in Mars Hill over in the top right-hand corner of the U.S. So, and it formed the Aleph and the Tav. The Aleph and the Tav is indicative or symbol of Hamashiach, or the Messiah, where he said, I am the Aleph and the Tav. So here we have an Aleph and a Tav that was created across the U.S. Of course, folks are looking at that saying, man, that could be a symbol and a sign, right? So again, it's just one of those things where we're just looking at that to say, what's this all about, right? But also another thing I want to bring to your attention, family, and that is, so while all this was going on, right? While all this, bear with me just for a second. I'm going to mute my, see if I can mute my phone here. There we go. Yeah. So while all this was going on, there were other things here in the States. Of course, we had the red heifers. I told you about the red heifers that were being taken from, the place that the eclipse had crossed over. They were taken over to Israel, over to the land of Israel, and they were sacrificed. And, who knows what they were doing with that. Of course, when they did that, the day that they did that, there was a discovery of this strange object that was in the sky called 3-Eye Atlas. And of course, at this object that was in the sky called 3-Eye Atlas, they kept trying to call it a comet, but it kept defying the laws of comets. Didn't have a tail. They said it had a tail, but it didn't have a tail. Then they finally admitted that it didn't have a tail, or at least not a traditional cometary tail, but they did have a small tail that was facing towards the sun, which was highly unusual. And then they took a look at the composition of it, and then they discovered that, man, this thing isn't made out of ice like all the other comets, because a comet is really just just think of a big old round snowball going through the sky, right? Got some rocks and dust and stuff like that mixed in with it. But at the end of the day, that's what they say a comet is. And then as it goes through the sky or or space, it heats up, and then the sun is blowing the material away from it, and that's what causes the tail. Well, this 3i Atlas was not doing that, right? And there were some other anomalies, right? Like the composition of it, the color of it, the changing of the color, the brightness of it, how fast it was going, the trajectory, like all these things, family, just started were causing people to say, I don't know, this one looks a little funny. We need to keep an eye on this thing. And that's where, if you were kind of like me, I'm not necessarily calling it an alien yet, but I'm just looking at it, just monitoring it, and just noticing how the government, or how the keepers of the information, the gatekeepers of the information, why are they guarding this information? Why aren't they, publicizing this information? For example, like this comet or whatever it's called, 3i Atlas, it passed by Mars, right? And so, of course, you can say coincidentally, once it passed by Mars, government shut down. And of course, they're saying that's the reason why we don't have any information coming from some of the more capable monitoring our observation satellites and devices around Mars. So those are the reasons why we aren't able to get those pictures. And folks are kind of like, okay. But in any case, we still don't have the information to be able to see exactly what it is. So you got that, right? So that's taking place. But then there's the stuff that's happening down here on Earth, right in our backyard, right in our neighborhood. And this is when I was telling you, fam, I was like, here we are, a lot of us are waking up in 2016. I think that's round about the time that I woke up, round about a lot of the time that a lot of the folks that I know woke up around 2016, 2015, around that time. And when I say wake up, what I mean is that you come to the revelation that, hey, we are the children of Israel. And yes, we are the children of Israel, speaking about the African diaspora, whether you be here in the US or abroad, right? We are, for the most part, we all share a single forefather, Jacob. We all are assigned to one DNA haplogroup, which is what you have to be in order to be Israel. I mean, genetically, Israel, right? You have to be. Let me caveat that by saying what I'm referring to is our genetically speaking, right? People that are Israel. Now, we do know that there were people that sojourned with Israel even from the very beginning, right? So even when Israel came out of Egypt, there was, you hear people talk about a mixed multitude. I think one of the scriptures that drove it home for me, I believe this was during the time of Joshua, right? When they had the tabernacle, and they were commanded to, arrange according to tribes and stuff like that. And so you had one tribe on one side, and this tribe on this side, and this tribe next to that tribe. So all these tribes were arranged around the tabernacle. But if you look at that scripture, family, there was always or also a place among Israel before the Most High for the stranger that would sojourn with Israel and heed to the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. And you have to be, I'm trying to paraphrase this, family, but these were people that got along and loved Israel, loved the children of Israel. They weren't enemies living within, just in case you folks are thinking about, oh, I just can't stand them black folks, but I'll be over there. Like, nah, nah, you can stay right on over there with your hateful self. You know what I'm saying? So, nah, back in the day, we were, you looked at, you hear the term mishpachah or family, right? We were a family. We were Israel, and we had those that sojourned with us. So, you can take that and look at that group as a whole as Israel plus those sojourn with Israel. Got it? All right. But said all that to say, family, that when it comes to like the DNA, the so-called African Americans, the so-called children of the diaspora, we match the children of Israel genetically, because in order to match it genetically, you have to have a single forefather. You have to have the other thing you have to have is the imprint of four biological foremothers, which we do. And you also have to have a how can I put it, a profile that matches the historical children of Israel captured in these stone monuments, particularly the Lakesh relief. I know you're probably tired of me talking about that, but I'm telling you, family, like that is one of the most powerful testimonials of who you are, right? And who people are not, because we have people that do not look anything like the Lakesh relief running around here talking about they are the children of Israel, or they are the Israelites. And we know that. So according to just a simple, quick, basic eye test, that could not be the case. And that is the farthest from the truth. And it's funny, family, and this is when I was talking to you about AI, right? Where even if you go to like ChatGPT, ChatGPT has got to the point now, and even Grok, like I'll sometimes use Grok as well, where it will straight up lie to you. It will straight up lie to you unless have an idea of the information that you're searching for. I would not use the AI in that respect. In other words, like I've gotten to the place or the point where I actually stopped using AI for certain things, and I just go back to doing the plain old searches, the plain old school way of searching for stuff, because AI, they have gotten a hold of AI. They've gotten a hold of those large language models. They've gotten a hold of those bias and weights inside of those computational things, and just skewed it towards the false narrative. So, but of course, sometimes I would sit there and argue with it. And my wife would be like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm arguing with a Grok. That we are the people just using the Lakesh relief, and they would Grok or ChatGPT would come back and say, oh yeah, the Lakesh relief and the Israelites, some of them had short, woolly hair. They'd say curly hair. I was like, provide a picture where the prisoners of Lakesh did not have short woolly hair. Then it came back, came back, was like, oh, well, you're right. All of them did have short woolly hair, but some, it would kind of just every now and then it would use that word some or maybe or stuff like that. And even when it talked about, I brought up the point that Israel as a whole, we have a shared forefather, Jacob, right? And then it said, well, and of course, I think this was Grok that I was on at the time. It was trying to argue to the point, talking about, well, Israel's not all, they don't necessarily all have the same forefather. And I was like, find that. And it gave me an example of where, maybe somebody was adopted or something like that. And but I had to refine my, we call it command line engineering. I had to refine my command line engineering. Show me an example where a male of another nation was adopted as the son of Israel. And it did. This computer came back. You right. My bad. Y'all the people. So just saying, family, you just have to be careful with that. And that's why, Most High willing, I really do look forward to being able to roll out blackai.info. That's blackai.info, where, I can remove, my hope is that to be able to remove those biases and those weights that they put in there. And also, there is a silver lining in this, and that what AI is doing, AI will also, scan the internet. And by having these websites out here like biblicalisraelites.com, that's another one of the websites that we have out there, family, biblicalisraelites.com, it is being scraped by these AIs, right? So this information is being, pulled in and used or considered when AI tries to do its calculations and considerations, because at the end of the day, it's the same information that you can find on the British Museum's website, right? It's the same thing. So, all right. So, but all that, like I said, all that being said, family, we are in some strange times today, right? So, here in the States, while all this stuff is going on around us, and we're kind of minding our own business. Like we said before, we're in the middle of the Feast of Tabernacles. Praise be to the Most High. Hopefully you're enjoying family and friends. And so we are having fun. We're eating, minding our own business. And there goes the enemy out there trying to mess with us. And I tell people, it's like, we Israelites, like we're peaceful people, loving people. We love the Most High. We adhere to the law, statutes, and commandments. And last I checked, the law, statutes, and commandments aren't bad. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt love thy parents. I mean, aren't those good things? I mean, I know in my neighborhood, I don't want somebody that's going to be stealing or somebody that has a propensity to kill. I don't want that in my neighborhood, right? Somebody that's trying to go after your missus, I don't want that, and I'm sure you probably don't want that either. So these law, statutes, and commandments, they look pretty good to me. You know what I'm saying? So, but this is our charter. Like these are our, how can I put it? Well, I mean, these are our commandments. I mean, this is our foundation. And so what people try to do, and this is what the enemy tries to do. The enemy goes before us and they contact the authorities and all these other people, and they give a bad report about us. They say, well, well, these Negroites, they steal. Yeah. These Negroites, they like to KILL. These Negroites, they can't be trusted. These Negroites are identity extremists. What? Identity extremists? What are you talking about? And so what examples do you have? And all of a sudden you have these groups like the ADL, like Southern Poverty Law Center, and they were right when we woke up. And this is what I tell people, fam, I'm telling you, this is all connected, 2019, a slander campaign was kicked off by the ADL and the Southern Poverty Law Centers and friends. That's when they started saying things like, oh, well, the Negroites, they were the ones that shot up this place over in New Jersey. And it was because of their doctrine, because they were identity extremists, right? And they would kind of leave out, of course, you know how they do, family. They would always leave out some stuff, some important fine details, right? They would leave out the things like, well, the person that they're trying to say was a Hebrew Israelite. Well, he's not really he wasn't an Israelite at the time that he committed the crime. In fact, he hadn't been an Israelite for many years. So they had to go back 4 years onto a Facebook page where they found that he was interested in being an Israelite for a while. Then he got upset. Then he got, he didn't want anything to do with it. Then he started talking bad about the Israelites and said, basically kind of paraphrasing, that he didn't want to have nothing to do with them. And that was 4 years before he had committed that crime. But how the ADL and how the Southern Poverty Law Center like to spin stuff, they grabbed that and they said, oh, no, he's an Israelite. He's a black Hebrew Israelite today. And that's why they're extremists. Put him on that watch list. Put him on that watch list, right? I don't know if you all have heard of Project Megiddo. And that was a something that was, I believe it was in the 80s, where the ADL, there go those people again. I'm telling you, you minding your own business. What were you doing in the 1980s? I know some of you all may not have been around in the 1980s, but I was around in the 1980s. I was a little kid in the 1980s, right? I wasn't thinking about nobody like that. You know what I'm saying? I was just going to school, having fun, hanging out with friends. But all the while we doing that, there go those people again over there talking to these FBI about you, saying, oh man, they identity extremists. They violate. Got to put them on this watch list. You got to make sure you monitor them. You got to make sure you keep track of them. And I guess I'm going somewhere with this, family, because there's some monitoring that's taking place over our communities that you just need to be aware of. That, of course, I tell people, it's like, we're not doing anything. It's like, we are well aware that we have agents that come into our assemblies. And I'm like, why are you here? Because the only thing you're gonna end up doing is getting fat. Fat off food. Right. I mean, at the end of the day, you're just gonna get fat off food, have a good time, learn about the Most High. You might even learn to turn your life around and realize that you're working for a demon or a devil, and you're going to repent from that, and then you're going to join the assembly. That's what might happen, right? So it's like, okay, you're going to go through all that. You can join if you want to, but that's the only thing that's going to happen, because we're not violent, we're not doing any of this stuff. But the problem is that we are the children of Israel. That's the problem. The problem is that we are the children of Israel, and that puts us as problem number one for a lot of people. And let me show you this, family. I'm going to put this up here. Why we are the problem. In fact, we are the big problem. Check this out.
Major problem, or not problem, because in the South everything is quiet.
Oh, stand by. It's going to start back up. Hang on one second.
More or less. And now that we got the major problem, or not problem, because in the South everything is quiet, more or less. And now that we got the Midwest, Missouri as well, the major community which causes us some problems is the Black community. The major community which causes us some problems is the Black community.
The major community which causes us some problems is the Black community.
Now, family, I want you to take a look at this very brief clip of an Israeli consul official making what appears to be some very disturbing, dangerous, and damaging statements about Black American youth. And
okay, just want to interject here just for a moment. And, big shout out to everyone that's in the chat. Peace and blessings. I think I saw my cousin out there. We woke now. Hey, I did send you a link if you want to hop on. I'm not sure if you have a live plan on for later tonight, but feel free to hop on, cuz, if you have a moment. But hey, family, I did want to just let you know that the first clip that you saw was from 2016. Remember, I told you a lot of us started waking up at around 2016, 2015. And then all of a sudden she pops up talking about the major problem we have is the Black community. And what do we say, family? Israelites, we believe in not killing, not stealing, not doing all this stuff according to the Bible, according to the scriptures. The only thing we believe is that we're the people of the book. But then all of a sudden she pops on and talk about the major problem is the Black community, right? And of course, she's part of that the people that are over there in the land that are claiming to be us. So that's the problem number one. So the first video, like I said, was from 2016. That was the first clip. So just want to let you know that this had been going on for a minute, for a while. But now we're talking. This is from Vicky. She's with was it the African Diaspora channel, and so she's now talking about a more recent event. She's going to talk about a more recent statement that was made from that same lady. So here we go.
particular, I found this clip very important to discuss at this time because there's so much happening in our world, and we are supposed to have a very strong and democratic alliance with Israel. So it's disturbing to hear these comments. Watch this.
The problem with Israel is with the young generation of the Black community. The problem with Israel is with the young generation of the Black community.
Now, it's interesting when you go back and listen to this video from Vicky Dillard. I believe that's her last name. But she gets it, because as we go through her video, what you'll hear is that she connects the dots as far as why this is dangerous. It's like, out of all these people around the world, you have the Arabs to worry about. You have, Taliban and Taliban, Osama ban, all these folks, right? But then the people that you fix your mouth on to say that you have the problem with is our community. And so I like what Sister Vicky Dillard talks about, and that is just you decreeing and declaring it. It's what are you doing because you believe that? That's the problem, family. What are they doing because that's what they believe?
Black Lives Matter starts there.
So just to give a little bit of context to what you're hearing, you're listening to Judith Varney Shore, an Israeli consul general in Atlanta. And she says, quote, "The major problem with Israel is the young generation of the black community." I'm going to say that again. How are our friends and allies in Israel saying their consul, this is a government official, why would she say, quote, "The major problem with Israel is with the young generation of the black community"? What in the world is really going on? This is footage leaked from a censored documentary on some interesting ties between them and the United States. And so just for some of you may or may not know that Al Jazeera had done a documentary, and I was told that it was delayed and there were some other things that were going on there. So this is really interesting. And I find it fascinating, of course, that mainstream mass media isn't really talking about this. And I'm just saying that if Israel is supposed to be our democratic ally in that particular region of the world, we have some questions here.
Now, we do realize that, Sister Vicky, she's not privy, or she's not aware of who she is. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't know, she may or may not know her true identity that she, in fact, is true Israel. So, you have to kind of keep that in mind as she's talking through the stuff.
Israel is with the young generation of the black community. Black Lives Matter starts there.
And the reason this is important is because if your governmental officials have these types of thought, what's going into the laws and the policies that are known and unknown? Your work.
Ding, 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 ding. That's it. That's the question. If your government believes that, what policies are going into effect, the known and unknown? And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit here in a few minutes. What policies are going into effect, the known and unknown, if you believe, or that, they said it, they said they believe it. But since you believe that, the black youth, right, is the number one, not top 10, right? She said the number one problem. She said that, we're their number one issue. So what are they going to do about it? And we're going to talk about that.
World engagement, geopolitics. How does that look when this is privately something that they believe is a problem for their nation some very many miles away? Now, I've discussed this before, that some of our police in America are trained by Israeli law enforcement. Did you know that some American law enforcement agents, I'm talking about state and local, travel to Israel for training? And did you know that certain officials from there come to the United States to train our police? And there have been reports that have traced some of the maneuvers, some of the anti-black, very dangerous and detrimental maneuvers that cause our folks to be taken out or severely injured, that some of those tactics were taught, from their law enforcement agencies. So I'm thinking we're going to have to rethink some things, I believe, about this, and have a come to Jesus meeting on some of this stuff. Talk black to me.
She like to say, talk black to me. But you get the idea, right? And to kind of land back on one of the points that she made. So, like for instance, like there was a protest. I believe it was in L.A. right or California, somewhere, some city in California, where the police showed up. They used tear gas on the the crowd. And then as they were firing off those tear gas canisters, they looked at the tear gas canisters, and people noticed that those were the same canisters that were used in Gaza. Those were the same canisters that were used on the Palestinians. Why would those police officers in LA show up with stuff from the land, the state of Israel? Trained. So they're treating you based off of the way they train them. That's what I'm saying, fam. Like, we trying to mind our own business. The more we do research, the more I do research on this stuff, family, I'm telling you, like, all this stuff, it all seems like is disjointed and separate, and these things are just coming from left and right, and they're not related. Fam, I'm telling you, it is all related. Like, so not only does this impact like the police in our cities, the way the internet, we talk about being shadow banned on social media, whether it be YouTube or Instagram, Facebook. Those are the platforms that they have a good grasp of being able to shadow ban on those platforms. They didn't have TikTok until recently, and so the one that's still an outlier, which looks like they're starting to get their hands on, is X, right? And this is also why I tell, hey fam, I'm telling you, look, we have our own platform, Hebrew Connect TV, or HebrewConnect.tv. HebrewConnect.tv. Big shout out to Moray Dwayne and his family, and his, he's the founder of Hebrew Connect TV. And that is a platform where you don't have to worry about being, monitored like you are on these other platforms. And B, you don't have to worry about being shadow banned like you are on these other platforms. Now, I will tell you that anytime we stand, what I've noticed so far is that when we start standing up these separate platforms start coming under attack, right? They start coming under attack. Like Hebrew Connect TV, Moray Dwayne, he poured in all of his resources to stand it up. I mean, it was a great investment. And that's another thing, family. It takes a lot of investment to be able to stand all this infrastructure up and these services up. And so he did that. So big shout out to him and his family for making that commitment and making those sacrifices, because he could have used that to buy himself a car, buy his wife a car, different situation for his family. But instead he chose to try to bless Israel with our own platform, try to get back to that Black Wall Street, configuration, that isolation, that independence. And so that is out there. And just as we we move around on these social media platforms, just remember, go and check out and use HebrewConnect.tv whenever you get a chance. HebrewConnect.tv, because when they start, really going into shadow banning, they're already monitoring like every single post, every single text that you do, because they have their hands into these platforms. It's easy for them to be able to get that information and store it. And I mean, they basically have like I keep calling it like a database, but it's a repository of all this information of your social media footprint. But it makes it more difficult when you have your own platform. So definitely support whenever you can, family. I know, may not be in a position to support, but at the very least, just log in, watch some videos, make a post, and then go about your day. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't necessarily have to invest any of your resources other than just your time. Log in, watch some videos, make some comments, and then bounce out and do something else. That helps with traffic. That helps with getting it shared on the internet. And then so likewise, anything else that's out there, family, just keep that mindset of Black Wall Street out there. Definitely support that. Most High willing, if I'm able to get this AI alternative up and running, definitely support that if you can. But it's not ready yet, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But, all right, so that's that, right? So that's that. And so we are the problem according to them. And so that's going to cause them to monitor our platforms, monitor our social media footprint. And like I was saying before, the point I was trying to make before, family, is that as we look at this stuff, we might think, man, like all this is crazy stuff, all this independent stuff. You got Charlie Kirk happening over here. You got, Three Eye Atlas over here. You got, geo-fencing, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit later on. We got the policing of our neighborhoods and stuff like that. It's like, all this is separate. It's like, no, when you pull back the cover on all this stuff, it's all the same people. It's always going to go back to the same person that, according to Obadiah and some of these other places, they got a problem with you. They have a problem with you. And let me show you about, let me pull this Charlie Kirk thing just real quick, just to kind of catch us up on Charlie Kirk, because we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but we'll just briefly go over and then kind of show how that ties back into our community.
Candace Owens was right. Charlie Kirk had expressed that he might be abandoning the pro-Israel cause only 48 hours before he was assassinated. A lot of people questioned when she was talking about that on her show. She would say that Charlie Kirk was afraid of Israel, that Charlie Kirk was potentially going to be abandoning Israel. And a lot of people, even people who were actually in this thread, this text thread, said that she was full of it. She was making it up. She was doing everything for clicks.
Now, I do have to kind of preface this as well, because I know, especially when it comes either to Candace Owens or Charlie Kirk, especially in the Black community, there's no love lost there. They've been an antagonist to our community, and that goes without saying. But what I want you to do, family, is I just want to draw your attention away from the person to the people that are behind them. Because when Candace Owens was attacking George Floyd, it wasn't just Candace Owens attacking George Floyd. It was the people behind Candace Owens that were directing her to attack George Floyd. That's what I'm trying to get you to change adjust your perception from looking at the glove to looking at the hand behind the glove. And the people behind Candace Owens that were doing that were the same people that were going to that Project Megiddo talking about those Black Hebrew Israelites, same people that were, profiling you and giving you a bad report, saying that in 2019 that, oh yeah, they're identity extremists, same people. Right. So that's why when, you look at the Candace Owens and not the Tucker Carlsons, but the Charlie Kirks, that's why I'm saying, family, it is related. This has a dotted line back to our community because of who's funding them and who's directing them.
Well, she actually shows the text. This is the text, and these texts have been confirmed by the TPUSA, the Turning Point USA spokesperson. These are the text messages. Says right here from Charlie Kirk, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year, because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Ugh. And then he continues to write, Jewish donors play into all of the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Please don't. And then someone wrote and said, please don't invite Candace. That might feel good short term, but it's not good long.
Okay. Yeah, I might not play the whole thing, but yeah, thanks for the reminder. Yeah, fair use. But you get the point, family. So, of course, you already seen all this stuff has been running rampant on the internet, on social media. So, of course, Candace dropped some receipts, and it was confirmed that these are, in fact, the receipts. This is what happened. And then forgot that person's name that, had the meeting with Charlie Kirk right before, he was assassinated the next day. But what they found out when they took a look at his Twitter account, that he posted a post about, was it public assassinations or public executions, I think. And, he made a post before, like the night before, he made a post about public executions. And then after Charlie Kirk was unalive, he made another post, a follow-up post that says public execution. So, of course, people are looking at that saying, well, there you go right there. That's the person that did it, the one that's talking, the one that's bragging about it. And we know that, I'm a person, family, that I try to notice patterns. So we know that there is a nation state out there that has a pattern that for whatever reason they can't seem to help themselves, that when they do something, whether it be against someone over in I want to say what, like Iran or Lebanon or Syria, they always got to do a post. There's always some post that gets thrown out on X, and sometimes they'll take it down immediately. Like that's their pattern. So the fact that there was a post that was made before the unaliving of Charlie Kirk and a post that was made after the unaliving of Charlie Kirk, that matches the pattern of that nation state. Just calling it out. That's their pattern, family. Like it's like everybody has like their call sign, right? Their little signature, like that's their signature when they do stuff. So in any case, so that happened, family. And people were looking at that saying, oh man, well, of course, like I said before, the African American community, we feel some sort of kind of way about Charlie Kirk anyway. And of course, when that happened, whether you knew it or not, remember what I told you before was there was a people that were attacking our community from behind the shadows, behind the scenes, while we were going to Shabbat, while we were minding our own business. These same people, they were attacking. They were attacking. And I had brought this out earlier, where you had these companies, these organizations like Stop Anti-Semitism and Canary Mission, right? Canary Mission is a foreign organization, a shadowy organization that when you do the tracking of their organization, they're based out of the nation state of Israel. They're run by a rabbi or some rabbis and stuff like that. And they were attacking our community, or how can I put it? They were attacking our community before October the 7th. So before October the 7th, they were running ads, or they were running, I guess they had something on their webpage where they were doxing. That's where they take a person's, personal information, put it online, and then they would use that to stoke the mob to go and attack that person's job, like their employment, right? And I also use that as an opportunity to let folks know that they were primarily using LinkedIn profiles. So they would go out and they would find out, well, who was part of these black Hebrew Israelites, and in particular, again, I was telling you about patterns. Like the pattern of these people is not only to use a text, use a tweet. Like whenever they would do stuff, they would always brag about it, putting some tweet in X. But in addition to that, and hang on, family, let me pull this back up. I'm gonna see if I can bring up my PowerPoint slide. There we go. Okay, yeah, sorry, family, I got distracted here. All right. But yeah, like I was saying, family, so these folks, they have patterns. They have patterns that they like to employ. And hang on one second, just bear with me here, family. Just having some technical difficulties trying to pull up a video for you, but it is having some issues. Okay. All right, let me play this video right quick, family, and we'll come back to it. Hang on one second.
The things that I talked about offline on multiple platforms, sister, is the CBC. Even when Joe Biden at one time under his administration refused to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu, this country we've been sending billions of dollars to every single year. That's our reparations money. This country that I've been talking about for years, past and recent. Who's their top government? One of their top governmental former emissaries was secretly recorded stating before October 7th, 2023.
Yeah.
Said that the enemy to their country are Black American youth.
All right. Now I'll use that to tee up the point I was trying to make before, but that is the other pattern that they use repeatedly is that they go after the leaders of organizations. Like I was saying, whether it be Lebanon, whether it be Iran, whether it be, any of these other countries. Like while other countries are trying to take out the foot soldiers, they're trying to take the man out across the, right across the enemy lines. They're trying to, take out the leader. Like that's their MO. That's their signature move, their go-to move. Like that's what they do. And so because they do that, when we look at these organizations like Canary Mission or Stop Anti-Semitism, early on, like before October 7th, we saw that they were doing some of that on their website, particularly Canary Mission. And then, of course, it looks like, once we put out the call to action that, hey, that, they were doing that, looks like they cleaned it up, because it almost seems as though there aren't as many black names, black faces on their website as it was before. But in any case, when this Charlie Kirk stuff came, right, those two organizations, like I said, family, all this stuff tracks back to the same people. You're looking at the Charlie Kirk thing saying, oh man, whew, I'm glad that's not in my community, even though they try to show up at these black institutions, right, at the HBCUs, which had absolutely nothing to do with it. And we still had that brother that was hanging from a tree, which still was a little shady as far as, what the, who ended up being the what was the root cause for that. They tried to say that it was suicide, but that's not something that black folks do. Black folks don't go and hop on a tree and hang themselves. That's not a black folks MO. That's their MO. That's not our MO, right? But in any case, we had the Canary Mission, Stop Anti-Semitism, while we were minding our own business about this whole Charlie Kirk stuff, saying, what, oh man, we don't have anything to do with that. We're just gonna mind our own business, get on our social media accounts. We might make some post about it, right? But you know what the Canary Mission and the Stop Anti-Semitism started doing? Well, at the time when when folks started making posts about Charlie Kirk, they were taking that as an opportunity to do what they were doing before, which was using that to stoke the social media mob and start contacting people's employers again for black folks. Now they were doing it for the Caucasians as well, but just letting you know that if you were making some posts online that about Charlie Kirk and stuff like that, they were still doing that as well. In fact, I'm going to let's see if I can share my screen, and let me do this. I'm going to see if I can have a couple of browsers up. Let me see if I can pull this one up. All right. So hopefully you can see that. All right. So got Obadiah up. Now, what I'm going to show you is this is an X account. And you're looking at the X account for Stop Anti-Semitism. So this is, now I will apologize ahead of time. So, this sister here, they attacked her. This is one of our, the sisters of Zion, the beautiful sisters of Zion, right? That they were attacking. Now, she does use some curse words in there. So if you do have some little ones around the screen, it's not appropriate. So just letting you know up front. So if you have tender ears, you might want to mute your microphone. Not that I'm going to read the curse words, but I'm just going to say it is on the screen. All right, so here it is on the screen. So Stop Anti-Semitism. So remember, these are the same people that were going after our community, right, for saying that we are the people of the book. Remember, they said that we are the number one threat to their community. Not number two, not number three, but number one, right? So on their website, when the whole Charlie Kirk thing kicked off, they took the liberty of, going after our community as well. So this is one of the sisters that they went after. And let's read about what they said about her. It says, I'm going to leave her name off for now. And it says, former head of DC Women's March goes on an insane anti-Semitic rampage on her Facebook account. Now, listen to what it said. It says, insane anti-Semitic rampage on her Facebook account, complaining there's too much attention being spent on Jew hate, whines about Jews sitting in mansions and more. And they got a little bit of popcorn on that, right? So let's dig into that. Let's click on Facebook, right? And so you can see Sister of Zion there on the screen. So that Stop Anti-Semitism. They're going after this sister. This was in September the 20th. This is what I'm saying, family. It's like we got to keep an eye on this organization. We got to keep an eye on Stop Anti-Semitism, and also keep an eye on Canary Mission and any other websites that they bring up that start doxing people. Because I bet you that this sister does not know or did not know that they were targeting her, that they were going, after her businesses or her associations to to get her unemployed. Like that's their move. Like you heard Candace Owens talk about it about over and over again about how that's their play. Their play is money. In the scriptures it talks about the love of money is the root of all evil, and these people love dealing with money. They try to reward you with money, and they try to punish you with money. So here they're going after this sister to try to punish her with money. But let's take a look at what she says that they said was an anti-Semitic rampage, right? Insane. So let's see if you can identify with what she wrote. This is from the Stop Anti-Semitism's post. They put this up. It says, when you believe the sun revolves around you, so sorry, but I cannot hear about all the Jew hate, which seems to be a mantra at this point. Not while the same people who are lamenting this are also tactically supporting the actions of Netanyahu. It says, not while Trump is gearing up to do unspeakable atrocities to the black people, while actively protecting the Ish community, the 1948ers. Not while this administration is putting Hispanics into concentration camps and ripping migrant children from their parents forever. It's not that I do not, it says, it's not that I do not believe the 1948ers are hated by some and persecuted. I totally believe anti-Semitism is real. I've witnessed it. I have fought against anti-Semitic sentiments in my own community for decades. But I just don't want to hear what grinds your butt at night when you clearly lack empathy for every other marginalized group. Message. How do you feel about that, family? Let's say, and she says, I don't want to hear what keeps you up at night when you appear unable to comprehend any suffering other than suffering in your own community. When you are sitting in your $1 million home in a U.S., it says in a U.S. enclave of other $1 million homes, expressing how much you are hated behind the comfort of the newest model of your Apple computer. She says, it is like you are saying, oh, look, I broke a nail to someone who just lost a leg. Says, now, again, just reiterating, this is from Stop Anti-Semitism's X page. And it says, some women came. Now, you have to put this in perspective. Like, so why is she saying all this? Like, did she just randomly just say this, right? So she's saying this because somebody from their community popped into her community, or popped onto her page. So again, like I was saying, family, folks was minding their own business. She was minding her own business. They came to her page talking about how they all messed up, right? And then she was like, hold on. And this is why I tell people, it's like, look, family, you gonna come to the ancient Israelites who have been scattered to the four corners of the earth, who have been under the curses of the Most High, who have had their skin used for belts and shoes, and their hair, who had their body parts taken off and eaten, who've had their kids given to alligators, their babies given to alligators. They were raped, they were sold, their families were taken apart. All kinds of atrocities were given to them. They were boiled in sugar, like all these things that when people, and this is another, like a knock that I used to have, I still have with Candace, because Candace Owens, when she was trying to say that, there was slavery over in the Arab countries. It wasn't like the slavery over here. I'm sorry. It wasn't even close. I'm sorry. You got to go back and redo your research on that. It wasn't the same. Last I checked, Arabs that weren't eating people. They weren't cutting off limbs and eating people. You might say, well, they were castrating people. Well, they had castration. They had eunuchs in the Bible, right? So that's not new. And look, it's one of those things, family, where people think if they find some evil and wicked on the Saharan slave trade, they're acting as though they can't find that in the transatlantic slave trade. Like, this is a thing where it's like the transatlantic slave trade was that, right? It's like all the stuff you found in the Arab slave trade. Yeah, they did that over there, but they was doing that over here too, and more, right? So this is the thing. I did have a disagreement with Candace on that. I was like, yeah, you got to go back and do some more research on that. I know I'm getting off topic here, family, but I just want to point that out. All right, so here you got some curse words on the screen. So like I said, I apologize for that, but just ignore it. I'm gonna skip over that stuff. But again, she was minding her own business. 1948 has popped on her feed, made a post about, they hated, they going through it, they got it bad, to a person that is a descendant of the transatlantic slave trade, to a person that is descendants of what they call DEI. And it's funny because the Stop Anti-Semitism, they literally on their website call folks DEI. And you know which ones they got DEI next to the names? It's the people of color. Is DEI a term of endearment? Did they don't put DEI next to their names, next to the Caucasian women's names. They got it next to African Americans. That's what I'm saying, family. That's them. That's on their website. They got DEI on their website about our community, about people in our community. Anyway, I know I'm getting off topic. I just want to let you know, families, like these scales that they're using to judge are so tilted in one direction. This is what's causing the problem. All right, so let me just finish up this quote, family. It just says, and again, this is why she's made this post. She's going to justify why she makes this post. Mind her own business. Someone from another community come and talk about they got it bad. She says, some woman came on my post, a post that had nothing to do with Israel or Palestine. She says, I rarely post about either anymore. And wrote, look, 3 book chapters and how hated the 1948ers are and how hated she is and Jew hate. It says here and Jew hate there, here a Jew, there a hate, everywhere a hate. To a black woman. And look at the expression. Again, this is from Stop Anti-Semitism's X account. And she says, what the blank was I supposed to do with that information? Question mark. And then she says, I hear you, sister. I take your 1948 hate and raise you a black man are being lynched in 2025. Is she wrong? Is she wrong, family? Let's keep going. Remember, this is something this is what caused her to be on Stop Anti-Semitism's website and for them to start going after this lady's job. Keep that in mind as we're reading this. This is what I say, family, we gotta keep track of this stuff. I'm just asking you, family, to keep track of this stuff. We see this stuff come up. At the very least, I believe that if we start just kind of reaching out to the people that we see are being targeted and just let them know, that, hey, just want you to know your name popped up on this website. Just be cautious. Cover your job. Cover your your finances and stuff. They moving. Just let them know. That's step 1. Step 2, we need to start reaching out to Stop Anti-Semitism to let them know that, hey, you take our sister off your page, right? Take our sister off your page. Let's go. It says, let me read what she says. I hear you, sister. I take your Jew hate and raise you a black man are being lynched in 2025. And you got that emoji. It says, like, do y'all know that other people have stuff too? are persecuted also, are hated more than you. And she, like, this is facts, because on the FBI's own website of hate, like, they track hate crimes on the FBI. And it's funny because back in the day, I'd say probably like a year or two ago, the discrepancy between the gap between black folks and everybody else on the FBI's hate crime website, as far as being the victims of hate crimes, was immense. It wasn't even close. It was not even close. But you know what they did? They went and redefined some stuff to add to other people's piles. And you can already guess whose piles were being added to. But even after they messed around with the numbers, they were still far behind black folks when it came to being the victims of hate crimes. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you barking up the wrong tree with that. And then some people will say, well, Brother Benayah, well, you can't really compare the transatlantic slave trade to the Holocaust. Full stop. And this goes for everybody that's listening, that listens to this video going forward. The greatest issue, the greatest problem or mistake people make when they talk about the Holocaust is that they leave out black folks out of the Holocaust. We were there. Black folks were at the Holocaust in great numbers. Not only that, Hitler was on record as saying the person that he hates the most, the people that he hates the most, were the N-words. Hitler, think about it, family. Hitler, he was a white supremacist through and through. So the last thing he wanted was a little chocolate up in his country. He wanted to run that out of there as quickly as possible, which is what he did. You've heard of, you get a chance, Google the Rhineland Bastards. The Rhineland Bastards were the children of the mix. They were the mixed children between the blacks and the whites. And the Rhineland Bastards, they neutered them. They experimented or operated on them without anesthesia. Like, they treated them like dirt and dogs, family. And those were the mixed ones. What do you think they were doing with the all black folks? They were, during World War II, when a pilot went down, when an enemy combatant went down behind enemy lines, if he was Caucasian, they would take him. He would become what they call a POW, a prisoner of war. They would stick him into a concentration camp or a prisoner of war camp. But if he was black, guess what happened to him? They took him around back and shot him. This is why when they look at the numbers, when people try to get numbers of, like, all right, well, how many black folks was murked, was unalived over, in Germany? They don't know, because, they hated black folks so much, they didn't even count them to a certain degree. So just want to let you know, family, that the greatest mistake people make when they're talking about the Holocaust is they leave black folks out. There is a book. Let me see if I can find this book. I'm going to pull it up on my other page. I believe it's called The Black Holocaust. Go and read this book, family. Go and read this book. Let me see if I can find it on Amazon. I believe it was on Amazon. I actually purchased this book and read it. And this book, a lot of the stuff I'm telling you, like, it comes out of this book and others. It's called Germany's Black Holocaust. That's the name of it. It's called Germany's Black Holocaust, The Untold Truth. It is on Amazon today. Go and read that book, because it will show you how, black folks were there during the Holocaust. Not only that, did you know that the Holocaust started with black folks? It started in Africa. It started in Africa. Then they took what they learned in Africa. Then they took that back over to Germany. This is what I'm talking about, folks. It's like, man, when folks come at black folks who are, who are really under the curse, right? Because the curses of Deuteronomy 28 were perpetual, right? It wasn't you own for some years and then you off. You own for a couple of years and then you're off. No, them curses, they show up. They just like that bad uncle. They always show up at that inopportune time. And those curses were around during World War II, and black folks were being impacted by the Holocaust as well. All right, so beat that dead horse. Horse is a horse dead. That's what people would say. But in any case, family, that is the undeniable truth that is left out whenever someone brings up the Holocaust. They make it a white affair. No, it was a black and white affair, and black folks were the ones that Hitler hated the most. All right, let's keep going. But that's the backdrop of this, this rant or this text that she's going on. Let's say anyway. It says, I hear you, sister, who says, like, do you all know that other people have suffered too, are persecuted also, are hated more than you? That's facts. That's backed up by that FBI report. Like I told you, black folks are the number one hated ethnicity on the FBI report by a long shot. Ain't nobody close. We those people. Then it says, you are lamenting to a black woman. This is what she said about how hated you are for real. And of course, you put some bad accent on it. It says, because we black people don't know nothing about being hated, do we? Question mark. I mean, slavery was bad, but the Holocaust was way worse, huh? And again, she doesn't know that we were in the Holocaust as well. But you get the point. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but since I'm in for centuries, saves owners like cattle, rape, beat, maim, unalive, children sold, 3/5 of a man, Jim Crow, white only, wasn't blank compared to what your answers went through, huh? And of course, yeah. So anyway, what you can see it and read it for yourself. Again, this is on the Stop Anti-Semitism website. This is their post. But again, this is what they use as justification for going after this sister. And just so that you know, of course, she's not the only one. So I want to just show you that there were others. And I'm going to pull this back up to the screen and just show you that, yeah, I mean, they have no problem with going after various people in our community. You see, this sister was one, and you see these two sisters are others. University students, they have no problem going after college kids, family, college girls from our community. That's what I'm saying, family. It's like they appear not to have any boundaries. You know what I'm saying? It's like some certain things, family, when you were like, hey man, don't mess with my mama. Don't talk about my mama, right? It was like just certain things. There was a code in there that we like, hey, you better stop. Hey, I'm just letting you know. Stop it. Right. And by them going after kids, after people's kids, young ladies, that's dangerous territory, regardless of ethnicity. I'm just saying this, like, that's dangerous territory. But again, like, this is one of those things where, if you feel as though you can get away with it, they will. So in any case, that's what's going on in the community, right? That's one of the things that's going on in the community, where during the Charlie Kirk stuff, even if you were minding your own business, not, even in this case, the lady that I was reading to you, her Facebook post before, she was minding her own business, family. Somebody popped on her social media platform and then antagonized her, got a response from her. And then when they got a response from her, then Stop Anti-Semitism went after her job. Think about that. Let that sit in for a while. So I'm not going to belabor the point, but you get it. You get why I pulled this up. So anyway, that's one, right? That is one. This is, like I said, the way that they're trying to go after our community. And let me pull this one up, family. Let's see. Let me play this one for you just to add to what they're doing. This is what they're also doing.
TYT exclusive. A friend of the show sent me this story. He runs a company, and he got a curious email just the other day, and it said that it was from Alec Walker. Okay, we'll talk in a minute about whether that's a real person. And and they wrote what seemed to be a professional email complaining about something happening at the company. They said formal complaint regarding employee behavior. Now, if you run a company, that's a very important thing and a serious matter. So you look into that seriously, and that's why they frame it that way. And obviously, we took out here the name of the company and the employee that this group was targeting, right? So I'll fill in Acme for the company and Jane Doe for the person, right? So they say, "Dear Acme team, I'm writing to formally file a complaint concerning the behavior of one of your employees, Jane Doe, as exhibited on her social media platforms." Interesting. "For an extended period," they continue, "Jane Doe has publicly shared content that promotes hate and intolerance towards the United States, Republican values, Israel, and right-wing Colombian political parties. These actions are clearly visible on her social media accounts, particularly her Facebook profile, which I have linked below for your reference."
Now, in case you're not catching what's going on, so basically, this random email was sent to a company. I don't know if it's like the CEO or some sort of manager or something like that, complaining about somebody's Facebook post, right? And then they start saying things like, she has what does it say? Has publicly shared content that promotes hate and intolerance towards the United States, Republican values, Israel, and right-wing Colombian political parties, right? So they're saying that she did all this stuff, right? So let's see if that's true. Number one, so this random thing, well, we don't know if it's a person or not. We'll see what comes out of the this video. But this random thing reaches out to this manager, this CEO, complaining about somebody on Facebook saying that they did all this stuff. Let's see what happens.
"As a U.S. citizen, I find such conduct deeply troubling, especially given that she represents a professional and reputable company like Acme. As a serious and respected company, I trust that Acme will take this matter seriously and address the behavior of its employees in a manner that aligns with the values of professionalism, respect, and tolerance. Thank you for your attention to this issue. I look forward to your prompt response and the appropriate steps being taken. Kind regards, Alec Walker, concerned U.S. citizen." Okay, let's pause there for a second. Now, this email is curious in several different ways. The brother mentions twice, "Remember, I am a U.S. citizen." Is that how people normally write an email to a company? They're like, "Hey, Nike, I'm really upset about the Colin Kaepernick thing. And remember, I am a concerned U.S. citizen."
Yep. So you're probably starting to catch on. Normally people in the U.S. don't co-sign on their or sign their emails with "I'm a concerned U.S. citizen." The people that would do that would be somebody from outside the country. Outside the country. Again, like I tell you, family, it's all going back to the same place. It's all going back to the same place.
Okay, so look, these are all little flags until you see what she is accused of in a second specifically. But so that's a little bit of a red flag. The second red flag is, why are you trolling and through the social media account of one of my employees when you got nothing to do with the company? That's weird, right? And so that doesn't normally ever happen. But this is an outside person who claims to care a lot about this company, but has never interacted with the company before, not a customer, not related to the company in any way, shape, or form. But this outside person, Alec Walker, is very upset about what Jane Doe is doing. So now, if you're a company in America, you have to take that very, very seriously. So this company did, so they looked into it, and they actually inquired further. They said, "Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We take matters of conduct that violate our values and principles very seriously. Can you send us screenshots of the content you're referring to that you feel promotes the hate and intolerance towards the U.S.? We are unable to see them." Because they looked through her social media and they looked through her Facebook that was linked in that original email. They found nothing about Colombian parties. They found nothing insulting Republicans or America. But they did find one and only one thing, that this person had changed their profile on Facebook to include the Palestinian flag.
Let that sink in. So all this person did was they changed their Facebook profile to a Palestinian flag. And then that caused this person or bot or whatever it is to write to the like I said, I don't know if this is CEO or whoever it is at the company, trying to get this lady fired. That's what I'm saying, family. This is the extreme. This is the extreme actions that they're going with today, right? Didn't make any comments. Didn't make and in that email they lied. They lied and said that she did all this stuff which she didn't do because or at least the company couldn't find it when they looked at her profile. So again, family, I'm telling you, like, this is some new territory that they're going against, that they're moving into. And so, just want to, like I said, I want to bring this to your attention because, and of course, I'm sure because they sent this email directly to the manager, the person that was the target of this email may or may not know that all this is going on. Hopefully that company reached out to her and let her know that, there was a complaint against her or him or her. Right. But, there's no guaranteeing that took place.
Now, the Palestinian flag is not an insult to Israelis or Jews or anyone, although sometimes the zealots in Israel say, the idea that the Palestinians would be human enough to have sovereignty over a state, no way. They're violent savages, and they never should have a state. By the way, that is the official position of the Israeli government. They voted on that and said the Palestinians should never be allowed to have a state. So this person is a person that's totally random, not in media, not in politics, not in public life at all. So what it appears that they're doing is they are sending. Look, do I know that it's created by AI? I don't. But does it look like it's created by AI? Yes. So the reason why, if it's created by AI, it's so important is they could send millions of these. They troll through social media accounts of all of you guys. And if they find anything that's even just supportive of Palestinians as human beings and them having rights, that's it. They're going to try to get you fired. So if there's one of these emails, that means there are very, very likely thousands of these emails at a minimum. Because look at how slight the theoretical offense against Israel is. And then there's a subterfuge. Oh, I'm worried about Colombia. I'm worried about her attacking Republican values. No, this is only about Israel because of the flag. Guys, that means that Israeli interests are coming for you. And so sometimes you'll see people saying that on TV, and I'm like, really? Somebody criticizes Trump. What does that have to do with whether they're going to come after a random Republican family in Missouri? Or about, you attack Biden, but it's not coming after Democrats. No, this is it appears to be a concerted effort to target the average American who would dare to dissent about Israel and get them fired.
So you can see where this is going. You can see how they are moving. And like I said, just want to bring your attention to this, family. And, and like this, again, this isn't the only thing that they're doing. Let me pull up this other one. Let's see here. So we got the, looks like they could possibly be using AI bots to troll, to go through your social media and to, find out if somebody says anything about Israel or Palestine. Remember that in that one, all the person did was just put up a Palestinian flag, and that bot, I believe it was a bot, family, sent that email out, and that email was filled with lies and stuff like that. So, and I'm sure hopefully companies are smart enough to know that this sort of stuff is out there, and that, you know, from a legal perspective, hopefully they're not going to put themselves in legal jeopardy by, listening to any of this garbage that's out there. But let's take a look at this other thing. So that's that. So there's the bots that are out there on patrol right now. And then there's geofencing tracking. Yep, geofencing. Check us out.
In terms of this this FAIR document that you were mentioning, I do want to give credit to several other investigative reporters that assisted me. That's all. If you follow me on X at Brian Ferentz1 or brianferentz.com, they're all sourced and referenced there. So I want to give credit to them as well. But if you go into that FAIR document, one church that you see very prominently is Dream City Church. And Dream City Church in Phoenix, Arizona is where Charlie Kirk, it's highlighted there. He has all of his fundraisers, all of his rallies there at Dream City Church. Hosts Trump there. TPUSA holds their AmFest there. And in an article in the Arizona Republic, Pastor Tommy Barnett was mentioning in the article. First of all, he was comparing Charlie Kirk to Jesus, which some would maybe question that. But he was mentioning that during one of their services, they played an AI recording of Charlie Kirk's voice, like beyond the grave. Saying, first of all, I want you to know I'm fine, not because my body is fine, but because my soul is secure in Christ. And I knew the risk, and I do it all again. So that was an AI video that they played. But the Dream City Church, if you look into, their alliances and what they're doing, they have on their website several pro-Israel websites. So that's why I personally believe that Dream City Church is not, passive in this geofencing. It says in the documentation, all these churches, they're going to be, conducting this geofencing. It can include, connecting to the wireless network of that church, for example, but certainly entering any of those, physical boundaries.
Now, I know he's saying a whole lot. Somebody would say like a word salad, but so basically, family, geofencing, what they're doing is that they're using people's cell phones to track them going to church. So I believe it was like four or five states. What they're doing is that, anyone that's going to a mega church or even a small mom and pop church in those states, and literally, family, they were tracking over thousands of people that would get up on Sunday morning, go to church. They would track them, figure out what their cell phone numbers were on your phone, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes, family. On your phone, you're downloading certain apps and stuff on your phone, and through those apps they're able to track your location. You may not know it, or maybe you didn't really think too much about it, where it said you install the app and it says allow this app to track your location, and you would say yeah, because maybe you're using Google Maps, or maybe you're using Apple Maps or something like that, and you just select yeah, because you got to have that turned on in order for that feature functionality to work on your phone. But in any case, and sometimes, family, you don't even have to have those apps. I can also tell you that they can actually just figure out your location based off of the cell towers that your phone's connected to. I know back in the 80s, so my dad used to work in the cellular industry, and he was part of the group of engineers that would actually take care of the cell towers. And what he would do and what they would do is that, all those cell towers, they would route their information to what they called metzos, or these switches. And the switches would have all the information as far as like where the cell phones were and what they were doing. And this was back in the 80s, family, where they would have like the FBI would come into the offices where the metzos were. And if they wanted to track somebody, they would, of course, have the court papers to do it, the authorization. And then, of course, the engineers that were in the metzos would allow them to track folks using their phones back in the 80s. Of course, back then, the technology wasn't as precise, because they were using triangulation to try to figure out where people were. But nowadays we have GPS, and it's a whole lot easier. So said all that to say that geofencing allows, and this was a document that was submitted by the state of Israel. This wasn't just some random company requesting this information. No, this was the state of Israel requesting to be able to track over thousands of people going to church on Sunday morning. Oh, troll alert. What we got? What we got? Let me see. Put in the name of the troll for me and I'll gladly evict the troll. Let's do that for me. Sorry, fam. Sometimes it's hard to to look at both the live. Let's see. Yeah, bear with me just for a second. Let me go to my channel. Pulling it up on YouTube. There we go. Okay. Yeah, let's just, hey family, just keep your comments clean on that, family, because you know how the algorithms are. So I'm gonna have to hide your comments if you have explicitives and all this other stuff. So yeah, it's gonna have to do that. All right, so hopefully that's taken care of. But again, all right, so hopefully that's taken care of. All right, so anyway, but let's get back to it, family. So again, geofencing, that's taking place, and this is actually taking place, implemented by the state of Israel. So of course you had a lot of Christians aren't happy with this, so they see that they see that they're being tracked, and they don't like being they don't like being tracked. And so of course when I saw this, family, the thing that I wanted to know was, okay, well, that's good to know that they're tracking. Well, now that we know that's something that they do, I also wanted to know if that was being done to our community. So definitely reached out to see if we can get the paperwork associated with geo-tracking associated with our community. And most are willing, when and if we get those papers, we will definitely share those with the public. So just want to let you know that I did submit a form to request that information as far as geo-tracking, because it is a foreign entity that's requested the tracking. We are able to request that information from the government as well. So again, if we get that, we'll definitely share that with the community at large. But yeah, and so if you do not want to be tracked, and I'm not too sure how this works on the Android, but I know on the iPhone, if you go to under settings, you go under settings and then you go under privacy. And then I believe there's a section in there for location services. If you turn it off, that turns off tracking through apps. But I will say that if you do that, then your apps like, maps will not work. Maps won't work, and other things won't work. So you'll want to have to turn that back on in order to use your maps and stuff. But that just helps you prevents from being tracked through the apps. Again, like I said before, there are ways to track through cell towers and GPS and stuff like that. That sort of stuff you can't get away from, other than just a family. I believe there's going to be a time where we're going to have to just put all this technology stuff down. Cell phones, iPhones, Androids, all that stuff. We're just going to have to put it down and go into the wilderness. Anybody that got technology on, you got to stay outside. so just letting you know, because that's how they track you, right? But yeah, so that's what's going on, family. They're using geo-tracking to find out where people were going, what they were doing, right? And that's the scary part about it. Well, not the scary part for us, but just they don't know what they're doing with that data, with that information. So, all right. Well, oh man, we are way over an hour. Apologize for that. Definitely wanted to try to keep this around an hour, but we're heading on 2 hours here. But definitely wanted to bring this to your attention, family, just to be aware of it. So now that you know that on social media, they got these AI bots, what appears to be AI bots that are scrubbing social media, and then in turn turning around and then emailing companies. And of course, those emails are filled with lies. So hopefully companies are aware that they are, the target of, some misinformation. So hopefully companies are smart enough to do some research like that one that was on the Young Turks did. And then the other one was, I showed you an example of a lady, she was minding her own business. Somebody hopped in her feed. Somebody hopped on her Facebook and started complaining about how bad they got it. And so she gave them the business like, wait, it's like, you're talking to a black person, right? We've been there, like, and so when she complained, when she came back at that person, then Stop Anti-Semitism targeted her job. So again, this is how they're moving, family. If you got stuff on LinkedIn, again, if you're not actively looking for a job, definitely make it private. I'm sure there's ways to get around it, but I'm just saying, don't make it easy for them to come after you like that. And again, their MO in the past was that they would go after leaders, but it looks like nowadays, family, they're going after anybody and everybody because they're panicking because, of course, they're in the last days of their reign and rule. And before we hop off here, let me just pull my browser back up. Just want to read because I saw I think somebody put Obadiah in there, but let me just read a little bit of Obadiah and I'll get you out of here on this, family. But also do a plug here just to let you know, if you're wondering, because I did mention before that we black folks, that we are the children of Israel. And if you're wondering like, man, well, how do I know that? Is it because of Deuteronomy 28? Yes, Deuteronomy 28 is a powerful testimony as to that we are the children of Israel, because only Israel would have those curses on them. Only Israel would be scattered to the four corners of the earth, right? And in addition to that, there is a book out there, and this is one of the two books that I have out there. I have one book called Black History Case Files, Buried Heritage. Black History Case Files, Buried Heritage is out there, many outlets, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target, just a bunch of places online. You should be able to find it. Same as the other book, Who Are the Biblical Israelites? I do want to let you know, and hopefully you're not mad at me, family, but with the Biblical Israelites, Who Are the Biblical Israelites? That book started off as a booklet, which is what it is today. But in the following weeks, I'm going to refresh it, give it a new, revise it, and add a chapter or two to it, and it'll approach more of a book. You know what I mean? Because right now I think it's like 60 pages, 70 pages, but it'll probably have a few more pages than what it has now. So just want to let you know about that. So again, here's the promo for the book, and then we'll read that Deuteronomy, and then we'll get out of here, family. So here it is.
What if everything they ever taught you about history was a lie? For generations, we've been handed a version of history that hides more than it reveals. A story rewritten by those who erased our names, our faces, and our truth. Black History Case Files Buried Heritage takes you deep into the shadows of time, where lost records, secret archives, and buried evidence tell a very different story. Join me as we follow a trail of hidden clues, royal lineages disguised, powerful nations rewritten, and a heritage buried beneath centuries of deception. Each chapter feels like opening a sealed file, revealing truths that challenge everything you thought you knew about who we are and where we come from. This isn't just a book, it is an awakening. And once you open these files, there's no going back. The truth was buried, but now it's time to dig it up.
All right, all right. Well, let's just close with this, family. So I know somebody put the chat or put this in the chat. Just want to read it. Has to do with Obadiah, family, and about those that are the people that are attacking we, the true children of Israel, and how we are truly in the last days, and about how this Bible is coming to pass, family. I mean, what we are reading, what we are watching is coming to pass. And hopefully you can see it on the screen where it's Obadiah chapter 1. There's only one chapter. And it says Obadiah 1 verse 1. It says, the vision of Obadiah. Thus says Yahuwah concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from Yahuwah, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise, you, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made you small among the heathen. Listen, it says, you are greatly despised. I think that's what we're seeing today, family. These people, as foretold in the scripture, are going to be greatly despised. This will come to pass, or this is coming to pass before our eyes. And it says, why are they greatly despised? It says, the pride of your heart has deceived you. You can pop in on somebody's Facebook. It says, the pride of your heart has deceived you, you that dwellest in the cliffs of the rock, whose habitation is high, and is said in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? And it says, you that exaltest yourself as the eagle, and you set your nest among the stars. It says, from thence will I bring thee down, says Yahuwah. If verse 5, and it says, if thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they not have stolen till you have had enough? If the great gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes? Verse 6, how are the things of Edom searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of your confederacy have brought you even to the border. The men that were at peace with you have deceived you and prevailed against you. They that eat your bread have laid a wound under you. There is none understanding in him. Shall I not in that day, says Yahuwah, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and the understanding out of the mount of Esau? And you, mighty men of Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that everyone, family, of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. Why? Verse 10, it says, for your violence against your brother Jacob, shame shall cover you, and you shall be cut off forever. So when this comes to pass, the children of Esau will be cut off forever. The fact that they're still around today tells us that this has not come to pass yet. Verse 11, it says, in the day that you stood on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, talking about Israel, and foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even you was as one of them. It says, but you should not have looked on the day of your brother in the day that he became a stranger. Neither should you have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither should you have spoken proudly in the day of distress. Verse 13, you should have not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou should have not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Neither should have thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. This was also something that happened in 70 AD as well, family. It says, neither should have thou have delivered up those of his that did remaineth in the day of distress. For the day of Yahuwah is near upon all the heathen. As you have done, it shall be done unto thee. And that is the promise of the Most High, like what you've done to all these other people. And that's why people are so afraid of the Most High coming back, because they know what they have done, or what they did to the children of Israel. And according to this law, right, this judgment is that whatever they did to the children of Israel, it's going to have to be done unto you. It says, verse 15 says, for the day of Yah is near upon all the heathen, and as you have done, it shall be done unto you. Your reward shall return upon your own head. For as you have drunken upon my mountain. Oh, this is the Most High. Most High talking about these people of Esau, Edom, have went to the Most High's holy land, have taken it into his own possession, and are abusing it and using it. And maybe they're thinking that, oh, we doing this, and it's going to impact and affect the children of Israel. Nuh-uh. This is the Most High's land that he gave us. And when you do this on that land, when you create debauchery on that land, when you've taken it from the children of Israel, the true children of Israel, the Most High is upset. And this is why when verse 16, when we read this thing, listen, you can almost feel the anger from the Most High. And it says, for as you have drunken upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not had been. Now, again, remember that principle I was telling you, family. As they have done to the children of Israel, it's going to have to be done unto them. And you think about this statement, it says, they shall be as though they had not been. You think about all these movies and these, entertainment where they're writing out the so-called black man, black woman out of these productions. You know, you'd be hard pressed to find folks in these productions. And that was the move for the longest, was to remove us from as though we had never been, so that we weren't represented when it came to television and stuff like that. But I digress. Let's see, verse 17, it says, but upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance. And there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possession. So we going back. No matter what you say, what you do, we going back. Hashtag we coming. And it says, verse 18, it says, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble. And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and shall not be any, it says, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yah has spoken it. Sounds like there was a period put on that one, because maybe you're thinking, well, but because a lot of times, we think about, forgiveness and stuff like that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how you get around this. I'm not sure how you get around this one, family. It says there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yah has spoken it. And it's almost like when you see that phrase, for Yah has spoken it, that means he means that thing. But then let's go verse 19. It says, and they of the south shall possess the mount of Esau, and they of the plain of the Philistines, and they shall possess the fields of Ephraim, and the fields of Samaria, and Benjamin shall possess Gilead. And the captivity of this host of the children of Israel shall possess that of the Canaanites, even unto Zarephath. And the captivity of Jerusalem, which is in Sepharad. And then it says, shall possess the cities of the south. And the Savior shall come up on the Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be Yah's. Hallelujah. So there you go. That's what's going to happen. Like the Most High said, for Yah has spoken it, and it will come to pass. So yeah, family, this Bible is true. The Most High's words are real. And this is what we're seeing all the way from Obadiah 1 and all the way down to Obadiah 21 or verse 21. So it will come to pass. Well, all right, family. I know we are at 2 hours. Oh man. So yeah, family, thanks everyone for hopping on here. Hopefully you have a great Feast of Tabernacles with family and friends. And yeah, hopefully we'll get back on here sooner rather than later, maybe in a couple of days. So love your family, peace and blessings. Everyone take care and shalom.
Tearing down idols and we cutting down posts. We calling back Israel to the hell we know. Throwing out crystals, we don't need these stones. And we ain't no gods, that's a job for y'all. I'll praise to the Most High. I'll praise to the Most High, Yahuwah. I'll praise to the Most High. I'll praise to the Yah Israel. Tearing down idols, we cutting down poles. We calling back Israel to the hell we know. We throwing out crystals, yeah. We don't need these stones. We ain't no gods, that's a job for Yah. Yeah. Oh. All praise. Who we say? All praise. Hey, all praise. Sing it again. All praise. Let's lift up a praise to Yah, yeah. All praise. We won't go the way of the pagan. We don't need no potions or sages. We won't let your word be forsaken. Even if we're hated, even if we're hated,
We won't go the way of the sages.
we don't need no
We don't need no potions or sages.
we won't let your
We
word.
won't let your word be
No,
forsaken.
even
Even if we're
if we're, we won't go the way. We don't need no potions or sages. We won't let your word be forsaken. Even if we're, even if we're, even if we're hated. Even if we're hated. Even if we're hated. Even if we're, we won't go the way of the pagan. Even if we're hated. Tearing down idols and we cutting down poles. We're calling back Israel to the hell we know. We throwing out crystals, we don't need these stones. And we ain't no gods, that's a job for y'all. Everybody help me say all praise.